What else you got there?
Lastly, so I'm starting to learn more about, just for fun, it's great to be, I don't want to say past in any way obedience training. That's the rest of my life, but it's kind of cool to focus on some new fun things that make it exciting for me as far as dog training goes. And now I'm learning a lot more about toys and training with toys and tug, that is, and learning a little bit more about protection for the sake of knowing when someone is accidentally training a protection dog.
Sure.
And one of the biggest takeaways so far, it's still very early. I literally downloaded a Learberg video yesterday and started, or 2 days ago, and started reading about it, but started to learn about back tying and how back tying builds drive.
Yep.
And as I started to understand that and learn more about that, I sat there and thought about, it's just boundary frustration, right? I sat there and I kind of started to think about it. And the more I thought, the more ways that I thought about that people are consistently back tying, quote unquote, their dogs in so many situations, whether it be left unattended at a fence, whether it be the electric fence, whether it be holding their dog back when people walk in the door, not correcting the dog when it lunges and just letting it chill at the end of the leash. That is so far the worst as far as leash reactivity, when we have an outsized an undersized owner versus a bigger, stronger dog who gets what it wants at the end of the leash. Yep. Those are the tougher ones. And, back tying in general, I'd love to hear, what you have to say about that. But please, what do you say to smaller clients who have this issue and who now not only already had a leash reactive dog, now they have just a crazy leash reactive dog who's just developed this drive?
Yeah, as far as the back tying, it's barrier frustration. That's the reason why it works, right? So the idea is you're holding the dog back from something they want to get to. You're essentially repeatedly teasing them with it until finally it gets close enough where, bam, they try to grab it, right? And it's interesting because you look at, the things we tell people not to do, which is like pet dogs over fences, reach into cars, come up to them really quick while they're on a leash or whatever it may be. And the reason why we say all of those things is not because we're dog Nazis, like everybody may think that we are, but it's because we've seen in situations how we create situations that cause dogs to bite in. And 90% of the time that these dogs are biting people or biting dogs, it's not because they're aggressive, right? They're not inherently aggressive dogs. They're amped up, they're frustrated, and then they're presented with something that they choose to grab onto with their mouth because they don't have hands, right? Their mouth is their hands, and that turns into a bite, right? So back tying is how you create that. And if you look at that cycle, whether somebody's because you can do back tying whether the dog is posted up to like a wall or something, or back tying where the dog's on a harness and somebody's posted up with a leash, right? That's literally how it works. Dog is amped up because they really like whatever that thing is in front of them. They're repeatedly teased with that thing, right? So what is that out on the walk? You're out on the walk. There's people and dogs out there. Your dog really likes them and wants to go say hi to them. But because they don't say hi to every single one of them that they see, they get frustrated, they get amped up, they get aroused. And then the person over there is like, oh, they're so excited to see me. Let me go and present myself to them.
Can they just say hi?
Yeah. Let me go present myself to them. And then they come up and then boom, they get bit. Because that's the same exact thing as what you do with a protection dog, right? Yep. The dog is not aggressive. You set up a bad situation that caused the dog to do that, right? So, as far as training protection dogs, if that's what you're doing, that's how you do it, right? But if you're out on the street, that's why on-leash greetings and all of these other types of things are so bad. Is because that's how that stuff happens. The dog doesn't need to be super fearful or super scared of people. The dog just needs to be really, really aroused and really amped up to see them, and then having been quote unquote teased by them intentionally or not, and then having that person run up to them, right? Or present themselves to them while the dog is in a restrained, frustrated position, right? That's it. That's why you can't do it, right?
Period.
Clip. Yeah, that's the most important thing. Like we probably said all day today is like that. People need to understand that, right? And then people will stop getting bit as much.
Yeah. It was just a nice chunk of information to understand that applied to so many things. It's like,
applies to everything.
This is
literally everything. Like when you have restraint and then you finally either release that restraint or have something invade on that space, dogs tend to use their mouth to try to control whatever that thing is, right? What was the second part of your question? First part was back tying. Second part was
the second part is okay. You've had a undersized
client
who
small owner,
has
big
now
dog.
developed an insane drive.
Yeah. Well, listen, hindsight is 20/20, but putting the blame on owners for a minute here, right? Like if you get a power breed dog, right? Whether it's a German Shepherd, whether it's a Rottweiler, whether it's a Mastiff, a Great Dane, any dog that is going to outpower you at some point, which is 90% of dogs, let's be real, right? But any dog that is going to physically outweigh and outpower you, if you did not spend the time teaching that dog to be well-behaved and controlled at a young age, that is really fucking dumb on your part. You know what I mean? Like you have to, and I'm not saying this like I hate you, this is so bad, whatever. I'm saying like you really should have saw that coming, right? That at some point this dog is going to get big and this dog is going to get strong, and I should learn how to really effectively control it so I don't run into issues later. No matter if the dog is the most friendly dog in the world or not, right? Second thing is, say a small owner goes out and adopts a dog, right? That's already big, right? They go get a Rottweiler, it's 150 pounds from the shelter or something like that. You have to immediately start that training. And here's the thing, right? There may be a case where, you need to do a board and train or something like that because you physically are not capable of working through those problems, right? Same deal with elderly people. We work with elderly people that physically cannot control these dogs and cannot do what it's going to take to keep the dog under control as they're working through that training process. So you need somebody to help you with that process, maybe, right?
God bless them.
There's not really much of a magic solution to it other than that.
Yeah, and you said it. Hindsight is 20/20, and you got a power breed. You didn't realize what that meant.
Yeah,
you're smaller. What? At this point, it's time to take on the mindset of yes, I can at this point because I have to. I'm not going to let this dog down with a meek mindset.
Yeah,
this dog is literally a dominant bitch, and I'm going to match that dominance because I have to because I care. So
100%.
Yeah.
And then, God, what was I going to say with that? Now that being said, as far as the strength side of things, going back to the protection world for a minute, there were women that were involved in protection sports that are very small people, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they got these big, strong Malinois, German Shepherd, whatever, right? And listen, I watched a lot of these girls handle these dogs. You know what I mean? When they're doing back-tied work, they got the dog on a harness, they're holding the dog back. You start learning into how to leverage your body and stuff like that. Sure. I never did, jujitsu or anything like that, but it's all the same, right? Jujitsu, the idea is that you could take somebody that's small, and if you give them enough technique, they can control somebody much bigger than them, right? So there's techniques behind that you could also learn as far as how to leverage your body in a way where you're not going to get yanked over, you're not going to get dragged down the street, et cetera, right? One of the, and again, I'm not an expert on any of that kind of stuff, but I know from doing it with dogs, like back tying dogs and stuff like that, it all comes down to positioning everything on the center of your body, right? And utilizing that weight and that kind of center of gravity in order to maintain control of the situation.
Right. Planting your feet, bending your knees.
Yep, 100%. Right? So there are things you could learn from that standpoint that will make it way easier for you. But the best thing you could do if you're already in a situation where you have a really, really big, strong dog and you need to get it under control because you can't even take the dog outside to start training them because they've learned that they could overpower you so many times is find some sort of trainer that can help you get past that initial hurdle, you know what I mean? And at least get it to a place where it's manageable, right? Where you can take the dog out and you're not scared that they're going to completely drag you down and stuff like that.
And when things happen, there's consistent, reaction
100%
from the owner. Yeah. Got to get that mindset.